So online, I noticed that a lot of folks getting into metalwork and blacksmithing, especially. Sorry, Wi-Fi's being a pain. So, like all these big wigs, well-known folks who do bladesmithing and blacksmithing, they say, "Oh, every toy known to man." They say, "Oh, you guys can do this too." Well, beginners, like myself, are like, "Yeah, yeah. If you got $1 million, like I have to work for a living. I got a family to provide for. I'm paycheck to paycheck. Like, I can't just dump 20, 5, 10, 15 grand into a power hammer, or like, I don't have the space to work out of my garage or anything like that." So, I'm in the process of building my new shop, which is behind me. It's almost ready to move all my tools in there. So before I take down my old shop, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to show you how cheap and how easy it is to actually get started. And I want to show you guys how I got started. So I went on to Amazon. And I know people roll their eyes about Amazon, but sometimes it's the best place to go because you don't have options in your hometown, or you don't have the local shops to provide the equipment or the services or anything like that you might need to get started. So you shop online. Well, I started online in some mom and pop shop places, which I'd rather support if it was online. So how I started was I bought my anvil. It's a little 44-pound Vevor. It was like 50 bucks maybe, really reasonable, especially if you can budget and save, of course. But my first shop is this. It's a carport. It's 10 by 16. It cost me like 300 bucks on Amazon, and it's a good place to get out of the rain and out of the weather. I had to add tarps because it's it's like a tarp, so it does degrade from UV, from the sun. But I worked at the shop for almost 2 years now, so I just added some tarps on top to help maintain. And they're not great with heavy snow, so you got to make sure you clean them off. And it's a little pipe tube frame, so if it has a lot of weight and wind, it'll just fold in half. So you want to be careful with that. But like, you can get a little pop-up tent. Like, I hooked it with some straps to my other building to help keep the wind from blowing over. But let's take a walk inside. And I had to reinforce it with another tarp. But this is my little shop. Let me turn my lights on here. And I didn't have power out here originally, but I have some blue collar experience, construction and stuff. So if you're handy, which if you're getting into this, you are, or you're able to learn and you're willing to learn. So I just ran some outdoor 110 wire. I put a male plug on one end and a female plug on the other, buried a line in my driveway so I wouldn't catch it with my snowblower or my plow. I wouldn't trip on it. And I just made it a giant extension cord and ran out here to a power strip. Now I have power. I can do 110. I put on a power strip so that way if it tripped a breaker, I wouldn't have to go back to the house and reset it from there. So this is my little shop. It's kind of narrow, but you can cram a lot of stuff in here. And it's a mess because I'm currently building my other shop. So you kind of have to make use of space, whether it's shelving, tables, totes, whatever. I reinforced it with some 2x4s, and I made some studs to help give it a little more support because of the snow load. And so yeah, this is my little shop, and I'll give you guys a tour. I'll get you spun around here. So right here, I have a mashup. This is my catch-all, unfortunately. Of course, when you're in the process of moving stuff, like, you got to have a space to put crap. But this is my little shop. I have a little chop saw here. I made a table out of sawhorses, some 2x4s, and some plywood, which I can repurpose anytime. I have my little bench top, 5-speed drill press. This guy was like $100 on Amazon, really cheap. I have a portable bandsaw, which I got this table, which was separate. It's a swag table. This one originally came with a chop body, so it would gravity feed and slow it down, slowly cut. But that wasn't too expensive either. And over time, I slowly built up my tooling when it was feasible. And then I got this little 2x48 belt sander. It's got a flat disc grinder on the side. That was like $100 on Amazon. I got a buffing wheel. That was also cheap. little toolbox with my miscellaneous stuff. This is also kind of like my pantry, so I keep like handle material and I keep like blade material and stuff in there. I don't want it to rust, so I keep it oiled in a protective bag in cover because I'm out, it's outside in the moisture. As you can see, my breath. It's cold out here, so condensation will make stuff rust, so it's less prep work to be able to work it. And then, of course, it's a mess out here, and it's gravel, it's dirt. So I don't have to worry about fire or anything like that. And then I have my tool rack, my tongs and hammers. And then I have an old stump I cut off this property. And then this is my first little anvil. Just a little Vevor anvil. It's got a hardy hole and a Pritchel hole, 3/4 inch. This is my first belt sander, a little 1x30. This is like $50. I got a little Harbor Freight vise. And then I have my forge here. It's propane, three burner. That was $150. I went big for my first one just because I knew when I was getting into this was my passion. This is what I wanted to do. So I did the price comparison between a single burner forge and this triple burner forge, and it was like a $25 difference. So I was like, well, I eventually want to make swords. So I might as well get a burner that can accommodate it. It's got a door in the back. I use fire bricks for the front, so it helped keep the heat in. I bought a treadle hammer kit from Christ-Centered Iron Works. I didn't have a stud originally to mount it to that was stable enough because that's what it's meant for. It's meant to be held on the wall so it can work. So I just built a frame for it. And then I have a piece of railroad track for the anvil. And I have a new big anvil I finally bought. That's still in the crate. So my little anvil is going to replace this guy. And I'm actually planning on making this into an anvil with a horn on it. So that'll be a separate video. But I have just a 100-gallon propane tank to help mitigate the propane from freezing. That way I can just hammer on. I have my quench tank right here. It's just a stainless steel pot, 5-gallon. I put my canola oil in it, and I have an outdoor grill, an outdoor cooker that's propane. That I use that to warm the oil up. And I would also turn it on when I was working out here, doing finish work or anything that wasn't forging. Therefore, that would heat my shop. So I just click that guy on. It would burn, get up to temperature, and I would just shut it off. That's just a little 25-pound grill cylinder. Really cheap. It was like, if you buy brand new full, it's like $60. If you have a separate one, you can swap it out, and it's like $25 for a swap out. So it's actually really cheap to get into. I think my first big expense getting this started, I think by the time I was all said and done with enough tooling to be able to start forging, I was in maybe $100, to get started. Like, you can use solid fuel forges. You can dig a hole in the ground and throw some charcoal in there, like you use for your charcoal grill. And you got a fire. Like, you can use a wood fire to forge. So it doesn't take nothing to get started. I mean, you can use a pop-up tent, and most of your tools will be fine. If they get a little rust on them, it's not a big deal. But if you want a nice place to work, either out of the sun or out of the weather, these little pop-up tents work great. I used it for almost 3 years now, and I saved up my money, and I have the ability and the resources to be able to build myself a little shop. So if you guys have been following my channel, you've been seeing my vlog updates on how that's going. And pretty quick here, I'm going to be moving all this tooling and taking this shed down and putting in my new shop. But I wanted to do a little video for you guys to show you how you can get started. Like, it takes nothing to get started. It's really easy if you got the mind and the discipline to be able to budget and save. Then it's really easy to get into. It doesn't take much time at all. You can put pennies in a jar with your spare change, and next thing you know, you have enough for an anvil. An anvil can be a rock. It can literally be anything to get started. A hammer, you can go to your local hardware store or antique sales, yard sales, garage sales, anything like that. You can find really cheap tooling. You can find really cheap stuff to get started. And sometimes you'll find just a hammerhead, and you shave it down with a stick, and you have a hammer. Like, if you're getting into this hobby or profession, then you already have the ability to make it work. And these are just simple little LEDs I got at Home Depot. They were 25 bucks a piece. You can link them together. They're magnets. So you just put a little plate or like a screw and some washers and they stick to it. And you can literally mount them anywhere. I've seen a lot of folks use metal storage boxes. You can get those fairly reasonable. Anything. Like, it is super easy and it is really cheap to get started. And after a little while of slowly upgrading as you go, you got stuff and it doesn't take much. And it's just a slow building process. And especially if you've got the discipline, the budget, it's really easy. It's as easy as saving. And you take 10% of your paycheck off the top, put it in your savings. Just even if it's like auto draft. So if you get direct deposit in your bank account from your job or whatever, or if you got a side hustle, you can use that to help pay for this. You can pick up cans on the side of the road and return those. And now that's money to put towards tooling and your help cleaning the environment in your community. So, and like you go to scrap yards to get material. I work in my tree service. We do all of our own metal fabrication in-house, and it's something I love to do. So I get all kinds of scrap steel, from, mild steel to high carbon to chipper knives to whatever. Like, you can make do with anything. Drill bits, stuff like that. There's all kinds of places to get free tooling, and that can really bump you up fast, especially if you can just kind of make do with it for now until you can either produce products out of your shop to get you going. I got a little angle grinder. That was my first grinder, the little DeWalt angle grinder. It was at the time it was like 40 bucks at Home Depot or Harbor Freight. Everybody likes to knock on Harbor Freight because it's cheap stuff, but you know what? It's great if you're getting started because you can get a lot of tooling for a little bit of money, and it'll get you going so you can at least get started. And there's no point in really putting a lot of resources into something if you're just trying it and you're not quite sure if you want to stick with it. So start small. It is that simple. And I know it's daunting when all these big wigs and well-known folks in this industry say, oh, they're standing in their multi-million-dollar shop with all their tooling and all their toys and resources, and they're like, hey, you can do it. Well, they started somewhere too. I mean, Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos started out of their garages. Like, Lamborghini started making lawn tractors. So it's like, and now they make Lamborghini cars. So like, it's a slow build, and slow growth is sustainable growth. If you grow too quick, you really have to grind in order to keep it going. But if you slowly build it, you get to keep it. So slow growth is sustainable. Quick growth is hard you got to really buckle down and hammer because it goes fast. So I wanted to let you guys see what I got started with, and when I get my new shop finished and outfitted, I'll do another video of how I set it up if you're not already watching the blogs. But I've been pretty busy, so I haven't really had time to make videos, so I figured a live stream would be the best way to get this to you guys, because winter's here, and I got to make some room in my driveway for my truck and my plow, and I got to take this building down. So I wanted to get this little video out to you guys before I take it all down, so you can see how cheap and easy it is to get started. And like, I got a little toaster oven from Walmart so I can temper my stuff. It's not the greatest, of course, but like, it gets you by and it gets you started. And that's the biggest thing, is just get started. The hardest part is taking the first step. And then once you have the first step done, it's just momentum. And after that, if you just keep the discipline, it becomes habit, and then it comes easy. So do it as hard and your life will be easy. Do it as easy and your life will be hard. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. I hope you like my videos. If you see stuff or have questions, please hit me up and I'll help you out any way I can. If you're looking for resources or anything like that, if you have questions on how I'm building my shop or how I do things, I'm more than happy to show you the whole thing. I don't believe in keeping things a secret and gate guarding stuff, because I don't have the famine mindset. Like, there's enough for everybody all the time, and I can't take it with me when I'm gone. So I just assume give it away, because if I give away, then I get more. So, but I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all have a time to do the things you want to do, and take care, everybody, and have fun.